With every OnePlus phone release, the story is generally the same. Great specs, great performance, undercutting the competition with their prices, and delivering average cameras. But with the OnePlus 9, OnePlus wanted to change that story up a bit. So they did what any company might be tempted in doing: slap an iconic camera brand name right next to their cameras and hope it works. Well, does it actually work? We're about to find out in this review, so be sure to subscribe and let's get started. Now, right off the bat, I'm gonna say that I love this pine green color. It is really soothing to look at, plus the soft matte finish on the back is anti-fingerprint and really nice to the touch. Overall, the build quality of this phone is great. There is nothing too bold about the design, which I guess is something that OnePlus usually follows with their phones. There is the iconic OnePlus alert slider to the right side, which I've loved using every single day, and I hope more manufacturers on the Android side do implement this in the future. But other than that, this phone has been a delight to use. The build quality, like I said, is great. The phone size is not too large and the weight is perfect as well. Another thing that's great about this phone is the display. It has a 6.7-inch 1440p 120Hz panel with LTPO technology, HDR10 Plus, and 10-bit color output. Now, LTPO technology allows the phone to vary in refresh rate, which is from 1Hz to 120Hz. And I did go into the developer settings and turn on the refresh rate tracker, but it never went below 60 Hz. Now, I'm not sure if that's something that's limited by Android itself or it has to do something with the display, but that's something that I wanted to point out in my review. Other than that, this display has been a delight to use. It's plenty bright at 1300 nits, so easily viewable outdoors. And like I said, it has the 120Hz refresh rate, so it's super smooth as well. There is the under-display fingerprint scanner, which everybody on the tech community has pointing out, saying that it's too low on the phone. But personally, after a couple of days, I didn't find that to be an issue and I got used to it pretty easily. So it's not an issue whatsoever for me. There is also an camera cutout on the top left side of the phone for the selfie camera, which we'll talk about in a bit, and it does have an always on display that's plenty customizable, and overall this display has been a delight to use. There is also a slight curve to the display. It's not as extreme as it used to be in the past OnePlus phones or the Samsung phones, but it is there nonetheless. I guess it's add to the premium quality of the phone or premiumness of the phone, but it is really good. And I noticed that there have been no accidental touches on this phone so far, so that's a great positive. And yeah, overall A+ display on this phone. As is the case with most OnePlus phones, they're pretty heavy on specs. This one packs Snapdragon 888 processor, 128 or 256 gig of fast storage, which seems low as I thought OnePlus would have a 512 gig variant, but I guess they're saving that for a future exclusive color or something. And then it also has 8 or 12 gig of LPDDR5 Ram, 4500 mAh battery, and a quad camera setup on the back, which we'll talk about in a bit. And overall, this phone has been great. Performance has been phenomenal, handles everything you throw at it. There are two nitpicks that I do want to point out. The first one is the heating issues. So if you do use the camera for a longer duration, the phone does tend to get a bit hot. And the second is RAM management related to WhatsApp, and I'm not sure if that's an issue with just my phone, but it is something that I wanted to point out. So I do use WhatsApp a lot for messages or calls, and in this phone, unless and until I opened up the app, I wouldn't get any notifications or any calls whatsoever, which was really frustrating. I did uninstall the app and reinstalled it, but that didn't seem to fix the issue whatsoever. So I'm not sure if it's something to do with the app or the phone, but it's definitely something I wanted to point out. But yeah, overall, Oxygen OS has been a delight to use. It's my second favorite OS after Google's own Pixel OS, and I believe it has the right amount of customizability, and it's something that I like to call is basically stock Android on steroids, and I like it more than Samsung's One UI as well. Another thing that I want to talk about this phone are the haptics. The haptics in this phone are really well implemented, and the software doesn't shy away from showing that to you as well. Now, whenever you change the brightness or the volume, the haptic feedback is so good. It gets stronger if you increase the setting and vice versa. And the basic features of a phone such as Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, call quality have been amazing as well. And then the speaker quality is also great. I was actually surprised by how loud they got. So if you're someone who likes to watch YouTube, Netflix, or listen to music without headphones, you'll be amazed by these speakers as well. Battery life on this phone has been great as well. It does have a 4500 milliamp hour battery that easily lasted me a day in most scenarios. Now I know I could kill this thing in less than a day, but that's basically true about every other phone on this planet as well. And I'm not going to throw numbers on you guys with the screen on time because I know it varies with every usage and every person. But like I said, easily lasted me a day. And OnePlus does include a 65-watt charging brick in the box. That is insane and a great deal. Now Samsung and Apple, please take notes. And OnePlus users also take note because I'm pretty sure with their next release, the 9T, OnePlus is going to ditch that charger in the box as well. But yeah, the charging speeds on this phone are insane. Now OnePlus said that this phone would get from a 0 to 100% in around 29 minutes, but I found that it actually takes around 35 minutes to fully charge, so that's still insanely fast. And this phone does support wireless charging at a speed of 50 watt, which is again ridiculous. And I'm not sure how that's going to affect the long-term battery health of this phone, but like I said, charging speeds on this phone are insane. And if you guys do want reverse wireless charging, that is supported in this phone as well. Now let's get to the climax of this review and talk about the cameras. Now on the back, you'll see there's a quad camera setup. So there's the main lens, that is the 48 megapixel Sony lens. There's an ultra wide that's 50 megapixel. There's an 8 megapixel telephoto that is 3.3 times optical zoom. And then there's also a 2 megapixel monochrome lens that I'm going to ignore for the rest of this review. There's also a laser autofocus, a dual LED flash, and a microphone. And then there's the iconic Hasselblad name or the branding as well. Now, before I talk about my views about this partnership, let's talk about the cameras because they have been the main focus of OnePlus 9 Pro, and they have been getting a lot of negative reviews on all the YouTube channels. Now the main 48 megapixel Sony lens has been custom made for this phone. It is nothing exceptional to be honest, but it does take really good pictures, and I expected more of this camera, but it is a hit or a miss with the white balance. Plus the color output of this phone is a bit warm or natural, and I believe most people like that contrasty or the oversaturated look that most other phones have. But I'll show you guys the samples with the main lens, the ultra wide, and all others, and you can also judge for yourself if you think the camera setup on this phone is good or not. The ultra wide, that is actually the saving grace of this camera setup. It takes amazing shots, and Sony has a freeform lens, so it is basically distortion free on the corners. So you'll see that most ultra wide cameras on phones have this fish eye effect, but this phone for some reason does not have that. I'm not sure if it's entirely hardware or software or a combination of both, but whatever it is basically great. White balance on the ultra wide is actually better than it is on the main lens, so that's also a reason I believe the ultra wide is better on this setup. OnePlus also includes the nightscape mode, which takes really good nighttime photos as well. If you are the kind of person that likes to shoot a lot of these pictures, you will be pleased by the output. The telephoto lens is nothing exceptional as well. It is a 3.3 times optical zoom. I thought with this Hasselblad partnership, OnePlus will opt for like a 5 times zoom or even have a periscope camera, but they did not. The reason I believe the telephoto is like an afterthought on this camera is the fact that when you switch between these three lenses, you'll see that the telephoto lens actually has the biggest variation in white balance as well as shadows. And I believe with the next phone, hopefully OnePlus will pay more attention to the telephoto. Another thing that is a letdown on this camera setup is the front-facing selfie camera. Now it is something that I expected to be better as well, because with this partnership I thought OnePlus could have a wide angle lens in the front or maybe have some neat software camera tricks. but this selfie camera is average at the best. With good lighting conditions, you'll take some good pictures, but with average lighting conditions, the pictures are going to be soft. And then there is also the narrow field of view with the front selfie camera, which is frustrating. And overall, the video quality on all of these cameras have been okay as well. I did manage to record some video samples with the microphone quality, so you guys can see if it's good or not. Hey guys, so this is the front video quality of the camera. Looks pretty neat. And this is the rear video quality and the mic quality. It's recording at 4K 30 FPS. And this is the ultra wide. And this is the main lens. And we'll go to the zoom right here. Now, personally, I think the video quality of these cameras is okay. It is a bit over sharpened and over processed. I did show my previous Android to iOS switch video entirely on the OnePlus 9 Pro, but once I saw the output on a laptop, I literally disposed the whole footage and had to reshoot the entire video on an iPhone. So I personally did not like the video quality at all. Now, OnePlus did say that with this partnership, Hasselblad is going to have more say in their next product, which I believe is going to be the OnePlus 9T. Hopefully that is the case, and with this criticism that everyone is giving for these cameras, OnePlus does indeed end up making a better telephoto lens as well as a front-facing camera as well. And hopefully they do not use that 2-megapixel monochrome lens and instead use periscope lens or something that's more useful. And the natural color output is something that can be improved on the next setup as well. Now, you might think that the criticism OnePlus is getting for these cameras might be too harsh, but I guess with the pricing that they're going for the 9 Pro, they are trying to compete with the big dogs like Apple, Samsung, Google, so they have to be held at the same level as well, right? At $1,500 Canadian, this phone is definitely tough to recommend to anyone in Canada. But in other markets like the US and India, where it's been priced accordingly, in words of Flossie Carter, this phone is a major go. So yeah, that's it for this review, guys. I hope you liked it. Be sure to subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.